going to be more scriptures than I put up there. So somewhere well, anyway, it is what it is. So just pay attention. Anyway, this will be a good way to know that you're paying attention. So welcome. I'm glad that everybody's here. Obviously, I know that midweek is busy. Obviously we've got work, we've got kids, we've got a lot of things going on right now. So I appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to talk about words from the cross, and this is just for tonight because I'm working on another series right now, but I want to finish a couple of things before I start it. So I want to start with a question. Have you ever been in a moment so overwhelming, so painful, so intense that you just didn't know what to say? Maybe it was a phone call, you got some bad news. Maybe it was a conversation that just wrecked you. Maybe it was a moment of loss or failure or just pure exhaustion. And in that moment, the words that come out of your mouth, they revealed something real about who you are on the inside. Here's what I found. The words people speak under pressure are usually their most honest words. When everything is stripped away and there's no more performance, no more pretending, what comes out is what's really in there. Tonight, I want to look at these statements that Jesus made while he was on the. Now, there were 7 different things that Jesus said, but I'm going to talk tonight about 3. 3 statements spoken in the most painful, brutal, gut-wrenching moment ever imaginable. And I want to tell you that these 3 statements might be some of the most important words ever spoken in human history. Let me set the scene for you real quick. Jesus has been arrested. He's been betrayed by one of his closest friends, beaten beyond recognition. He has been mocked, humiliated, and sentenced to death, even though he was innocent. And now he is hanging on a Roman cross, a cross that was designed to be as painful and as degrading as possible. Crucifixion wasn't just an execution. It was humiliating. It was slow. It was public. It was meant to send a message to everyone watching that this is what happens when you step out of line. The crowd cheering, the soldiers are gambling over his clothes, the religious leaders are mocking him, and his mother is watching from a distance, completely shattered. And in the middle of all of this, Jesus speaks. 3 times tonight, I hear his voice coming from the cross. And each time he speaks, he's going to show us something remarkable about who he is and what he came to do. He's going to show us grace. He's going to show us humility. And he's going to show us victory. These aren't 3 separate ideas. By the end of tonight, I want you to see how they all connect, all pointing to one powerful truth about the cross. First is, Father, forgive them. The first statement comes right at the beginning of crucifixion. Have been driven in, the cross has been lifted, and Luke 23 and 34 records these words. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they not what they do. Let that land for just a second. He's not saying this after a good sleep. He's not saying this from a place of comfort or safety. He's literally in the middle of being executed. And his first words are a prayer of forgiveness for the people that are doing this to him. Think about who's in the crowd. There are robbers who have just drove nails through his hands. There are religious leaders who falsely accused him and pushed for his death. There are ordinary people who just days earlier shouted, Hosanna, and now are shouting, crucified him. There's a whole spectrum of people who all played a role in putting him there. And Jesus looks out over all of them and says, Father, forgive them. Now, here's something I want you to notice. He doesn't say, Father, forgive them if they ask. He doesn't say, Father, forgive them when they get their act together. He doesn't attach any conditions to it. He just says, Father, forgive them. This is radical grace. This is a level of forgiveness that goes completely against our human instincts. Think about it this way. If someone cuts you off in traffic, that was quick. That was real quick. And I know that we've all been there. What's your first instinct? It's probably not, Father, forgive them, right? Forgive me for what I'm about to do. But it's probably not, Father, forgive them. That's just traffic. We're talking about people who literally are ending his life. And Jesus interceding for them in real time. Here's a simple illustration I want you to understand. You know, sometimes little kids will knock something over on accident, break a good drink. And before you can even say anything, usually saying, I'm sorry. If you're a good parent, what do? You kick them into next week. No. You might think about it. You don't earn your forgiveness, though. You don't make them grovel. You just tell them, it's all right, we can take care of it. Now, multiply that, and you can start to get a close idea of what Jesus is doing from the cross. The forgiveness he's offering isn't based on what we deserve. It's based entirely on who he is and the example he's trying to set for us. And here's what I really want you to hear tonight. The prayer isn't just for the people standing at the foot of the cross. The prayer was for you. The prayer covers every mistake that you've made, everything every moment you've fallen short. Jesus looks down the corridor of time, said, Father, forgive them. Romans 5:8 in the New Testament says, but God demonstrated his own love for us in this, while we were yet sinners, and there's what I didn't put up there. Jesus died for us. Romans 5:8. One I didn't put. See, while we were still sinners, not after we cleaned ourselves up, not after we had everything figured out, while we were still in the midst of our mess, he did that for you and I. Some of you tonight are carrying something heavy. Maybe it's from the past. Maybe it's a mistake you made that you just can't seem to let go of. Maybe there's a voice in your head that keeps telling you that you've gone too far, that God couldn't forgive you for that. I want you to hear Jesus speaking from the cross tonight. Father, forgive me. That includes you. There is no sin too big, no past too dark, no failure too deep. Forgiveness can. The first thing Jesus shows us from the cross is grace. Outrageous, unconditional grace. And it's available to every single person in this room. Saying that he said out of the 7 that I'm going to talk about tonight is I thirst. Now we come to the second statement, and this one a little different. It's not a prayer, it's not a declaration, it's just 2 words. 2 words, the most raw, vulnerable human words Jesus probably spoke. In John 19:20, it says, later knowing that everything had now been finished, and so that scripture would be fulfilled, just I am thirsty. I thirst. Now, if you're reading through the crucifixion crucifixion account and you're looking for something logical found, you might skip right this one. 2 words. Just a physical need. Something that sounds like something that doesn't like a sermon point, right? But I think that might be one of those important things Jesus ever said, and here's why I say that. Jesus in this moment is fully God, but he's also fully human. And in this moment, he is his humanity in one of the most unfiltered possible. He's thirsty. He is physically. He is in real pain. He's not floating above it all, some kind of divine detachment. He is in it all the way. Think about what crucifixion does to the body. Blood, exposed to the heat of the day. The thirst would have been absolutely unbearable. And Jesus doesn't mask it or push through it without acknowledging, and he says, this is real, this is painful, I am in this with you. Here's a simple illustration. When my kids were scared, the thing that helped them most wasn't me shouting reassurance way. It wasn't me coming in the room it was me coming into the room, sitting with them, being present with them. That proximity, that being there, that's what brought them comfort. That was being in the moment with them. Shouting at them, not giving them a hard time because they were scared, not judging them, belittling them, but just being in the moment with them. Jesus is doing something similar here. He doesn't come to watch our suffering from a safe distance. He doesn't sit on the outside of our pain and bias. He steps all the way in. He gets thirsty. He gets tired. He feels abandoned. He knows what it's like to hurt. And then John, the only place that this is recorded, look at all the rest of the Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you're not going to see this account of him saying this. And I believe a lot of that is because John had a different relationship with Jesus than the rest of them did. John went home and took care of Mama after everything was said. John had a very different, more personal relationship with Mary. And as any good mom would do, I think that's why we see some different accounts from John. If you go through and read that, and then you'll go through and look at Luke or Mark or whatever, and you the same accounts, and you think, why are these worded? Well, they may have had it from a different perspective, but nobody's going to tell stories about their kids quite like Mama's going to, right? It's going to be more feeling behind it. And John, of course, was right there. Hebrews 4:15 in the New Testament says, "For we do not have a high priest who is able to empathize with our weakness, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin." He is able to empathize. The word empathize means he actually understands. It's not a sympathy from distance. It's empathy from someone who has been there. I want to talk for you tonight who are in a hard season right now. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you're physically in pain. Maybe you're emotionally depleted. Maybe you're in a situation that feels like it has no good ending whatsoever. Maybe you've been praying and praying, and heaven is just absolutely silent. I thirst. Is Jesus saying, I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to need. I know what it feels like to suffer. I know what it feels like to be at the end of yourself. And because I've been there, meet you there. You know, sometimes we can have the idea that God is sitting up in heaven, perfectly comfortable, look down at our struggling, disconnected from it all. But the cross completely destroys that idea. God, in the person of this, fully into our human experience. He got hungry. He got tired, he grieved, he wept, and on the cross in this moment. Changes how I pray, honestly. When I'm going through something hard, I don't have to explain to God what pain feels like. He already knows. I don't have to convince him that my struggle is real. He gets it. I thirst 2 words that contain a lifetime of comfort for anyone who is suffering tonight. To understand that God is not distant, he is near. He is understanding. That God steps into our weakness so that we would never have to feel alone in ours. That's the humanity Jesus' full display that matters deeply. The third one that I want to talk about is it is finished. And this one is where something explodes. There is the whole story has been building toward. 19 and 30 says, when he had received the drink, he said, it is finished. With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. It is finished. In the original Greek, this is just one word, and it is tetelestai, excuse me. And it is one of the most powerful, significant words in the entire Bible. Here's what tetelestai means in that culture. It was used in several different contexts. When a servant completed a task for their master, they would come back and say, tetelestai. It is accomplished. The debt was fully paid. The creditor would stamp the bill with the words, tetelestai, paid in full. When an artist completed a master would look at their finished work and say, tetelestai, it is done. Paid in full, accomplished, complete. Jesus isn't saying finished. And I'm done. I'm defeated. It's over for me. He is saying it is finished. The mission is complete. The debt is paid and the work is done. What work? It's the work of salvation. See, here's the thing. 1,000 years before the people of God had a system of sacrifice. Every year on the Day of Atonement, the high priest would enter the innermost part of the temple, the Holy of Holies, and offer a sacrifice for the sins of the people. And this year they would, and then again, and then again. It never fully dealt with the sin problem. It was a temporary solution pointing to a permanent one eventually. But when Jesus hangs on the cross and cries out, it is finished, he is the final sacrifice. He is the high priest and the lamb at the same time. And the work he came to do makes a way for every person to reconcile to God. It is completely, permanently, totally done. John 20:1 tells us that at the moment of Jesus' death, the curtain in the temple, the one that separated ordinary people from God, from top to bottom, from top to bottom, not bottom to top like a human tore it, but from the top down that God tore it. The barrier between you and God was gone, not because of anything you did or earned or achieved, but because Jesus said, it is finished. Let me use a simple illustration. Imagine you have a debt, a big one, way more than you could ever pay back to and it's been hanging over your head for years. It affects everything. How you sleep, how you feel, how you and then one day you get a letter in the mail that says your debt has been fully paid by someone else. Ooh, that'd be nice. You don't do anything anymore, it's done, it's over. How would you respond to that? You wouldn't sit there and just say, okay, let's try to make payments anyway, just to help out. No. You would receive it. You'd be overwhelmed by it, I would think. No, I would be. but you would be free. That's exactly what Jesus did on the cross. He took the debt of our sin, the full weight of everything that separated us from God, and he paid it completely. Tetelestai, paid in full. And here's the thing I really want to land on. Sometimes we live as though it's not finished. We live with the constant sense of guilt, like we need to keep earning our way back into God's good graces. We carry shame that we already dealt with. We perform for God as though he's keeping score when Jesus already settled the score. For followers of Jesus tonight, you don't owe anything for your salvation. It's not a layaway plan. Jesus didn't make a down payment to pay the rest of it off. No, he said it is finished. It's complete. It's done. Your job is to receive it. Your job is to live in it. Now, does that mean you get to live however you want? Absolutely not. Paul addresses that in Romans 6, but the motivation for how we live shouldn't be fear and guilt or trying to earn something. The motivation should be gratitude and love for someone who already finished the work. It is finished is a declaration of victory. The cross wasn't a defeat. The moment sin and death were defeated once and for all. 3 days later, the empty tomb confirmed it. But it started there with these 3 words from a bloody cross on a hill called Golgotha. Grace, humanity, and victory, all 3 are now on the table. Let's put them together. So let's step back for a second and look at all these statements together, because I don't want you to walk away thinking these are 3 separate theology ideas. They form one beautiful, unified picture of why the cross matters. Father, forgive them. That's the heart of Jesus. Grace. Undeserved, unconditional, radical forgiveness. People who didn't ask for it and didn't deserve it. That's where the cross starts. With the love of God reaching towards broken humanity. I thirst, that's the bridge. That's Jesus in the middle of the work. Fully human, fully present, in our suffering with us. He doesn't just forgive us from a distance. He comes close. He enters in. He understands. He meets in our need because he knows what the needs feel like. And it is finished. That's the declaration. Work is done. The mission is accomplished. The debt is paid. Forgiveness has been fully secured. The offer is open to everyone who will receive it. Think of it like this. Imagine someone who loves you so deep that they first say, I forgive you, before you even have to ask. Then they sit down right next to you in the middle of your pain and say, I understand what you're. And then they hand you a paid in full receipt for everything you've ever owed and said, it's already taken. That's the cross. That's what happens on that hill, or that's what happened, on that years ago. And it is still just as powerful, just as real, and just as available tonight as it was the moment Jesus breathed his last. It was not just a piece of religious history. It is not a point of human history or story to be heard. Everything before it was pointing to it. Everything after it, and every single person in this room tonight has a decision to make what they're going to do with it. So here's where I want to land. We've heard the 3 statements from Jesus: grace, humanity, and victory. Now I want to ask you 3 personal questions, one for each statement. And I want you to sit with this honestly. First, have you received his forgiveness? Father, forgive them, is an open invitation. The forgiveness Jesus prayed for from the cross is available for you right now. Forgiveness has to be received. You can hold a gift in your hand, never open it. Some people spend their whole life carrying the weight of guilt and never realizing that Jesus already paid for their forgiveness from the cross. If there is something in your past or even your present that you've been holding on to, you feel disqualified from God's grace, I want to hear this clearly tonight. It doesn't. There is nothing you have done that is out of the reach of what Jesus did on the cross. Father, forgive them is big enough to cover it. Receive tonight. Don't walk out here still carrying something that Jesus already dealt with. It's not yours to take. Are you going to meet your pain? The I Thirst tells us that Jesus understands suffering. He's not asking you to pretend everything is fine. He's not asking it all together before you come to him. He's inviting you to bring your need, your exhaustion, your confusion, your grief, your fear, lay for some who actually sit. Some of you are in a real hard season right now, and maybe trying to carry it alone, and you've been putting on a brave face. Can I encourage you tonight? You don't have to do that with Jesus. He said, he knows what it feels like. Bring him your real self, your real struggles, your real need. He can handle it. In fact, he's been waiting for it. That's why I say whenever I talk about baptism and I encourage people to get baptized, you don't have to get clean to take a bath. You're just supposed to get in and take the bath. God will help you figure out everything else from there. It's at least a starting point of you saying, I'm going to bury this old me, this old nature, this old acting and me and being, and I'm going to try to step into something new, something God has for me. I want a better life. I want to make better decisions. I want to have better outcomes. I don't want to cause negative effects in my life anymore. I want to see positive things in my life. Jesus can bring you to that place. And you don't have to have it all figured out before you get there. That's what's so great about Jesus. You get to bring the mess and the ugly and all the stuff, all the mistakes, all the dumb things you've done. You get to bring all that mess to him. And then you get to put it under the blood. And you start brand new. I understand, and I tell people all the time, like, you get to be a new creation, right? But if you got court on, go. Because the judge ain't going to want to hear about, I got baptized, I'm a new person, told me so. All right? Because the judge is going to say the old you and the new you going to jail. So, but what's great about the new beginning is you're going to pay for what you've done. You're going to have to go through effects of bad decisions and all the things. But then what's going to happen is you're going to get to make new ripples in your life. And you're going to be able to reap the new things that God's going to have for you and the new plan that he's got. And you're not going to have to worry about that old stuff anymore but I have to pay some of the things, obviously. Exactly. Third, are you resting in what is already finished? This might be the biggest challenge for all of us. We believe in Jesus. We're in church on Wednesday night. But secretly, we're still trying to earn a place with God, still forming, still carrying guilt about our past, still feeling like we're not quite good enough, no matter how much we do, and still trying to earn this acceptance, like a parent no matter how good you are, no matter how good your grades are, no matter how good your home is, no matter how good your job is, it's always something negative. It's always something you could have done better. You should be better. You need to do better. And sometimes I think we treat God that way, and that's not the God we serve. It is finished. Let the word settle in. Tetelestai, the work is done. You don't have to keep trying to pay a debt that has already been paid. Your job is to receive it, live in gratitude, and let it change the way you see yourself and the way you love people. Here's how I want to close. 3 stages, 1 cross. 1 Savior was willing to hang there for you and for me. He forgave before we asked. He entered into our suffering so we'd never be alone. And he finished so we would never have to wonder if we were enough. That is the gospel, and it's beautiful. As we head into Easter this weekend, I want to encourage you. Don't let familiarity of the story rob you of it. The cross is not a symbol we wear around our neck or hang on a wall. It is a place the full love of God was put on display in the most costly, real, and the most personally possible. No, I'm not telling you to go home and take your crosses down. Okay, I'm not saying you can't wear a cross necklace, not any of that. But what I want to make sure that we never do is that it just becomes a story, that it just becomes a decoration, that it just becomes something in the background, and that we never lose what it truly, truly meant for you and I. It was the ultimate price paid to get you and I completely out of sin. We don't have to repay for it every year. We don't have to constantly be trying to earn that. We've just got to actually live in it freely and want it. We should want the change, right? We should want to live better. And it's right there for you and I. If you've never surrendered to your Jesus, tonight is a great night to start. All it takes is saying yes to what he's already done. He's received you. Now you need to receive him. He's been where you are. Now trust him. He's finished the work. Now rest in it. And if you're already following, you've been hearing something you need to lay down, guilt, shame, fear, doubt. Well, let's leave it at the cross where it belongs. Stop carrying on with you. Stop beating yourself up over it. Know that when he said it was finished, exactly what he meant. Your debt's paid. Stop beating yourself up. Stop trying to prove to Dad that you're good enough. He already knows that. He chose you. He said from the cross all the way down through time that you are forgiven. Can we stand together? God, as I get ready to close service, I just pray over every single individual that's in this room. God, whatever may be carrying, if anyone is carrying tonight guilt, shame, hurt, they're carrying a spirit of not good enough, constantly got to myself. I'm trying to earn God's love. I'm trying to earn God's satisfaction in my life. I feel like I'm constantly trying to something. And God, you told us in your word, everything was given to us free, in full, not partial, not a down payment. It's ours. No matter how much we've done, no matter how wrong we've been, no matter how ugly the road has gotten, how deep in our sin, how lost, how far away we may have felt, God, we are one decision, one turnaround, one step right back to you. Grace is sufficient. Love is more than we can understand, and your forgiveness is for every person in this room. We don't have to carry the debt. The enemy is a liar, and he can constantly try to remind us or go after our weaknesses or step into our fears because we've spoken out loud and he knows them. But we have got to remind him that through the cross, tomb that is now empty, we are victorious. We are conquerors. We are forgiven. We are more than enough because of the debt paid. God, I ask that every person leave here with their head held up, knowing that they are a son and a daughter of the Most High King, that they're forgiven, loved, and they are exactly who you created them to be as they walk in you. Let us have that encouragement. Let us have to continue to work on ourselves and trust you in every moment. In Jesus' name, and everybody said amen. All right, now I know I had you stand, but if you be seated for me one more. I know, up and down. You don't like it, eat one of these chocolate things up here. You get your energy back. Any questions, any comments, thoughts? That close us out.